by that, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. Right now we are ba-dum-bum in the year of the Dresden.
The year of the Dresden.
And covering chapters 1 through 16 of a book that I have read, but it's called Proven Guilty because I can never remember these names.
Are we backsliding with this one? Like,
I'm very fearful.
the first 16 chapters, not a lot of hope here. I was like going into it kind of geared up, like, woohoo, this is gonna be good.
We
And then
loved it. And then
what?
And then it was like, hey, do you want 5
world
plots shoved into a tiny, tiny hat made for a mouse? And you're like, not really.
Or some other things that we will get into because they are not to be excused. I cannot let them go.
Laura.
I will not forgive Harry Dresden.
You must answer for your crime. I demand satisfaction.
I mean, there may be crimes occurring. It seems irresponsible to leave this man with children.
I mean, it does seem like there might be child endangerment going on,
yes,
quote unquote, with the most biblically amazing man in the world. We will get into it.
Yeah. Okay. We got it. We got to
Laura,
stop because I'm just going to rant.
Before we rant away, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
So I watched all of the Taskmaster season with Jason Mantzoukas.
So good.
How lovely. And here's the thing. I was like, I binged the whole thing because once you start, you're just like really looking forward to the next episode. Mm-hmm. And then once I got to like episode 9, I was like, oh no, there's only 2 left.
I know.
This is not good. What
am I gonna do?
What happens now? So
where do I go from here?
I was very worried, but that cast is perfect. So likable. Yes. Every single one of them I just loved. And it was such a weird cast too, where I was messaging you a lot because I was like, Rosie was probably like the most normal of the group. But at the same time, like if you put her in a different group of people, she's very odd.
Yeah, she is very odd. And
I mean odd in a good way. We're like hilarious.
No, she is so funny. And I loved her so much. She was some of my most like laugh out loud moments where like in episode 1 where she like tried to break dance or whatever. She goes, I have children. I like was laughing for a week and I would just be like, I have children. Like,
well, and like you bring in the item you borrowed and stuff. Like she's bringing in a pelvic floor trainer that she borrowed from her sister, and she's like, we came out of the same womb or something like that.
They're like, no. What? Well, and Laura didn't know this, but I was like, well, her husband's actually been on a previous season. And so he's on a lot of the like social medias where people will be like, your wife's something borrowed. And he's like, I had no idea that happened. I did not know, and I do not approve.
Well, the other thing that was funny was she the person that I think she was the person that brought in a wedding photo of the 2 of them.
Of him incredibly intoxicated.
Yeah, and that was the thing she regretted.
Yes, she really hated her wedding, like specifically the wedding. She doesn't regret the marriage. She regrets the wedding because she spent too much money on it.
Yeah, it was kind of a disaster, it sounds like. But I love the whole cast. I especially love Fatya.
Fatya was the standout of the entire
hilarious
thing.
And people were complaining about her a little bit online where they on Reddit where they so we can't trust
they
Reddit.
Hate fun.
Well, the only reason they were complaining, it was not really super complaints. It's a complaint that they felt like she wasn't trying that hard with a lot of the things, but at the same time everyone thought she was hilarious. So it's also, like
there are so many people who don't try hard in that show, and she's the first plus size woman who didn't try. And so sometimes I'm like, she's a plus size woman wearing a hijab, and she's the curmudgeon of the group, and that actually is a very standard Taskmaster persona. So I do think it's a little.
This is the first full season I've watched, so
you should see the one I told you next. Watch the one with what's his name? James Acaster, because Rod in that season is very like, I don't try that hard, or like I'm just doing stuff to do stuff. So I would watch
specifically
that one.
Like cited the things that Fatya was bringing in, like she brought in a bag of chips, and then she said that she called and reported them for the kids working filling the bags, and they were like, what? You called in on that? And she's like, this bag of chips isn't full.
It's not full. Um, Rod
So
Gilbert, I
funny.
think, is the one who did this, but one of the Taskmaster people just brought in a picture of Greg Davies like in a Speedo the entire time. Like anything
Every
was just
single
like
task.
pretty much every single task, almost every single task. So
Hmm.
like that's where I'm like, I think you're
The
being a
other thing
little
too, I
too
think
hard on
is,
Fatia.
well, I think the other thing that's hard too is there was so much variety in like the contestants themselves as to how hard they were trying because
Yes.
Matt was trying
So
so
hard.
hard. Like his things that he was bringing in, I thought were all excellent. Like
Yes.
that pop-up book, that was amazing.
That was so good. Yes.
Like so many things he was doing, I'm like, he's putting in like
Oh
110% effort
gosh.
on every single
And
thing,
then
even if he
when
like
Jason borrowed
missteps.
it and used it as his something borrowed.
And then Fatcha got it too. So like
Yeah.
all three of them had it at one point. So that was fun. But yeah, I loved Fatcha. I thought that she was amazing. I loved all of her like advances towards Greg, like hilarious. And at times I felt like he was almost like a little like, what?
Yeah, I don't
Like
know if he knew what to do with this cast. So,
I think the whole cast honestly kind of threw him for a loop, really,
yeah.
because he was on Seth Meyers, Late Night with Seth Meyers, and he said him and oh, what's his name? Alex.
Alex Horn.
Yeah, Alex Horn. They were on Seth Meyers and they were saying like, yeah, like it's weird having an American on, and Seth was like, well, Jason is not like your standard American. Like, don't don't
Don't
assume
compare us to
all
Jason
Americans are
Mantzoukas.
like Jason Mantzoukas. Like this is a unique American. Like,
Very
and
unique.
and I think they were a little shocked, honestly. Like they kind of assumed like oh, all Americans are like Jason Mantzoukas. And you know what? Maybe we should be, but at the same time,
Well, I
like
think they were a
too
little bit
funny.
shocked with Jason's persona because Jason kind of came on knowing he was going to do a bit, and I think British people like the like perception that they're always like this. When
Mhm.
Jason is like, "Oh no, I'm a lovely individual, but I will mess up your set, and it will be
He was
serious."
he was very much ready to destroy things
Hmm.
for a laugh. And I
Yes.
feel like that is kind of an American comedy thing because
Yes.
Conan O'Brien does the same thing where he will
Hmm.
go to extreme lengths to get a laugh or to like create a new joke or something. And
Yes.
it's like, okay, well, you are rolling on the floor in a deli, or you destroyed a set, or you are screaming at someone, or what have you. And it's like that is probably seen as very extreme. And
Yes.
it's kind of common for American comedians to do that, especially I think male American comedians to
Yes.
do that kind of thing.
Or like loud, brash Americans. Because I think
Yeah.
like I said, a lot of times I feel like sometimes people on Taskmaster don't mean to be like doing a persona, but like Jason kind of came on and he pitched himself as the villain of the season. And then he was like, I'm going to be the villain. That
Well,
is the
because he's
character I'm in.
often said that he's typecast as like the
Yeah,
trash, the trash man,
the trash
basically.
man.
That is like kind of a dirtbag villain type.
Yeah. And so he wanted
And
to do that. Like,
I don't think that's completely accurate of him though, because he is just too nice. Like
yes.
he can't escape how nice he is. It's just
Yes.
not possible. He can't get away from it. Because even like when he was on Seth Meyers, then talking about Taskmaster, he came off a little bit like his character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where he's like,
Mm.
"We're best friends," and Seth was like, "Yeah, okay." Like he
Yes.
has golden retriever vibes, but
Yes.
at the same time, like he's that golden retriever that is like tearing up all of your UPS packages, and you're like, "What the heck? Why did you do this?"
You had so many toys. I do agree with that assessment of him because he is someone like after I've listened to so many episodes of How Did This Get Made,
Hmm.
he's a very much an enigma of a man where he'll be like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I watched all of Gilmore Girls and was running on a treadmill crying in the middle of New York City watching it at a
Hmm.
gym, and I just did that every Tuesday." It's just like, yeah, I could totally see that man doing that, but you all like you don't expect it, but you're not shocked. Like,
Right. I also think too, it's hilarious how he's just like, I just started pitching myself for shows. Like I wanted to be on Gilmore
mhm.
Girls. I got on Gilmore Girls, and I wanted to be on Taskmaster. So
Yes.
I got on Taskmaster. So I guess I'm going to just start doing that for everything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's amazing.
I do wonder if because Taskmaster is now like on YouTube and it's become a little bit bigger
Hmm.
with Americans, if it's going to like shift a little bit. And I don't think it'll ever like
Well, so
not be
Alex
what
and
it
Greg,
is.
I'm again falling back on this Seth Meyers interview, but they were talking about how they would really love to expand out into like have an American Taskmaster, like
Well, there
an
used
American
to be an
version of
American
it.
Taskmaster, but it kind of didn't understand. And I think this was,
Well,
I
they
think
kind of said it
Jason
didn't have the right
Mantzoukas. Yeah.
setup or footing, really. And
Yes.
they were kind of hoping that Jason going on the show, that this would be kind of like a door opening, that maybe they could get something set up in the US that would
Yes.
be, and when I say American, I mean the United States. Uh, American also can refer to South America, but I'm
Yes.
thinking United States because I think that's what they were also referring to. But I think that they were kind of saying like when they tried it before that they had Alex there and it wasn't like the right host Alex
Yeah.
dynamic. Like they need to have the right host to do it.
Hmm.
And it almost sounded like they were a little bit hinting like maybe Jason should be the
Honestly, I think
taskmaster
he
for the
could do
US.
that. Like, I think he'd be a
And
little bit zanier, but
yeah, he
yeah.
and they were kind of like hinting like maybe he would be the taskmaster. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it kind of seemed like that a little
You
bit.
know who would be a fun taskmaster though? Paul Scheer.
Yeah, actually
He would
he
be a
would.
great taskmaster because
Yeah.
he would just he could be charmed by people. He can put on like a
Actually,
little
he
bit
would
more of
be
a
good in
bumbling.
the Alex position, honestly,
Yes, that would be
because
good.
he's the type of person that I don't think is afraid of physical comedy and like
Hmm.
having to get involved in that kind of thing, and also would interact well with the contestants, them just being
Yeah.
like, "Can you eat this pie full of marbles or sit on this cake?" And he would be like, I guess
Yeah,
this is
I guess that's
happening.
what I'm
Yeah,
doing. That's
I
so
guess.
true. Well, because they
I
talked
don't
about
know who
that.
would be like a good taskmaster because I feel like that is very I'm very much picturing we need an American Greg and Alex, and
Yeah.
I don't want to like cookie cutter it, but
No, but I think you're onto something with Paul Scheer because I think he would be more jovial. Like I don't think he would be as like
Mhm.
serious, but he would do it and be like, "Yeah, I guess we're doing that." And he is fake. Like he once was on How Did This Get Made? He talked about how he had to fake his blooper reel because he never laughed. Like he's like, "Well, I'm just here to work." So like, we're here to work. I'm
Yeah.
working. And Jude, his wife, had to be like, "Honey, sometimes when people are laughing, you have to laugh too because it looks weird. It looks like you're not having fun." So yeah, he
Amazing.
could definitely do it.
Yeah, I think he would be good at like the Alex position. I think for me, I'm just seeing like the Taskmaster themselves as like more of a like drier comedy
Yeah.
style because I'm thinking especially of like this most recent season where they were supposed to where he was supposed to ask like, well, how did that get there? And he's doing the multiple versions of the very sarcastic, how did that get there?
Yep.
And I'm like, I feel like it would sound different coming out of Paul Scheer, where it would sound too happy.
Yeah, that's true. So you're definitely right. I would be interested to see who they have for an upcoming
Mhm.
Taskmaster, but I do hope we get an American version.
That would be
Because
cool.
I think there are different flavors. We just started
Hmm.
watching New Zealand, and I even think like New Zealand humor is like something you have to get used to if you're, because I feel like I've watched so many British things, it was very easy to get slotted into the British humor
Sure.
of it all. Um,
Have you watched the Taskmaster Junior at all?
I haven't.
Because I was just curious because they were talking about how they thought that was actually a great show too, but they said that or Greg said they won't let me around the kids. They're afraid I'll scare them.
He was a
And
teacher.
I was gonna say it's so funny because he was a teacher. Like,
He
okay.
was a teacher. That's so funny that they're like, he's too scary. I sometimes don't like kids. I don't like watching kids participate in like very specific things, and I'm sure it's done in a very sweet way, but sometimes it makes me uncomfortable. So I feel
I
like,
will say there is a kids show like reality competition show that I do enjoy, and it's the chef ones. Like
mm,
anytime they have like Master Chef Junior or
those
anything
freak
like
me
that,
out.
I don't necessarily like seek them out, but if they're
Hmm.
just like on TV as I'm like scanning through, I'm like, okay, I'll watch this for a little bit. And I'm always it's just me being impressed. Like, how does this 8-year-old know this?
There used
Like,
to be a teen survivor that I used to watch when I was in middle school that we all watched on like
see, I'm not
Saturday
about
morning
that.
cartoons.
I'm not
That was a
about that
weird
thing,
show.
but like
I
any kind of
honestly
like
can't remember its name,
if
but
there was like some kind of like fashion create like any kind of like creating outfits or anything like
yeah,
that,
I
like
could do
anything
that.
where it's like showing off talents where little kids are doing that, that impresses me a lot and I can watch that kind of stuff. I find it consumable. I don't know if I would necessarily get into Taskmaster Junior,
Hmm.
but I get the appeal, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so for other things I've been enjoying, my husband and I did the most Midwest of Midwest things, and we froze a bunch of sweet corn, and
Here's
it
the
took
thing, if you're not
forever.
from the Midwest, you're missing out on frozen sweet corn because it is one of the best things that comes out of the Midwest. I
Honestly, sweet
deeply,
corn in general is so good.
yeah,
Like I
it's
kind
so
of love this time of year because there's just an abundance of corn being eaten and given to people, and it's so tasty. And I also love frozen sweet corn because in the winter, like get that out
yeah.
and
You just
make
add
it
it to a
nice.
meal. It's so
Yeah,
good.
it's so good. I
Um,
really like adding it to like spaghetti squash and like making little spaghetti squash boats. And
oh
I'll put like
yeah.
black beans and corn and I'll
Ooh,
put some zucchini
yeah.
in with it too and onions.
Excellent recipe.
It's delish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that sweet corn is so good. But
Laura's
it,
husband was so nice because we went over to visit them like a week and a half ago and we were leaving and he's like, "Do you want some of our vegetables and corn?" And like I was being nice and only taking like a couple. And her husband like doubled the amount of corn I was taking and
you
we
should have
did
taken
grill
a
it
lot
and it was
more.
amazing.
We got to a point with the corn where it seemed like we were doing so much. And I look over and I'm like, how have we only got 10 quarts? This does not seem like enough. It seems like we've been doing this forever. We should
Yeah.
have way more. But we do have a lot in our freezer now, and I think it'll be plenty for two people.
And if it's
So,
not, you can give some to me and then I don't have to do it
right.
myself. So,
I can do that. I'd be glad to. I also watched two movies, one of which I thought was excellent and it immediately like shot to like the top of my like new favorite
you
movies.
you want to talk about it on the pod?
Yes, I do. It's called A Nice Indian Boy and it is a rom-com but a little more, I wouldn't say it's even like that funny, really. It's such a kind-hearted, sweet movie about a man who like, about a gay man who is Indian and is dealing with a unique family situation where his family struggles with his homosexuality, but also wants to be very supportive of him.
Mm.
And he is looking for love and finds love in a white man. And it's the most heartwarming movie. Like I especially loved it just for the way that it portrayed the family situation and how we got to see how difficult things can be for parents to try and be supportive, but at the same time be dealing with struggles of their own that are
Yeah.
unknown to the children. And I just thought it was such a great movie. I mean, I'm sure this is a situation that a lot of people go through, coming out to their parents and dealing with the struggles of that. But I think this added another layer because we're dealing with a lot of cultural
Yeah.
situations too. And I thought it was just so uniquely filmed and portrayed and just great acting. The end of like towards the end of the movie, there's a very, very heartwarming moment that just had me like
Mm.
sobbing. And I think that parents especially should watch this movie because I think it's a really great one for parents to kind of learn to be more accepting of their children and be more open-minded and
Yeah.
to just learn to be a loving, supportive parent. And I I think more parents need to watch this or see this kind of representation, not necessarily just if your child is homosexual, but if you have a child who is different in any way, I think it can be hard for parents to accept these things about their children. And I thought this was just like a really unique movie because it showed a family who struggled with each other in different ways, but had so much love and
Yeah.
support for each other. It's instantly like top of my, not maybe the top, but it's in my top 10, I'm sure now, favorite movies. It's so freaking good. What an excellent, excellent movie. Highly recommend it. Jonathan Groff is a little cutie. I love him so much. And uh, Karen Sony, I think is Sony is how you say his last name, who is the star of the movie. And I think actually his husband directed the
Oh,
movie.
that's lovely.
Yeah. And he was great too. He is a very funny, like, guy who he played a guy who is like very awkward and uncomfortable, like kind of expressing himself and everything. And he did that very well. He was very well cast in this. So yeah, it's a really great movie. Everyone, please watch it. Everyone, come talk to me about it. Hannah, I want to talk about it on the podcast. I love it so much. It's
We need a bonus
so good.
episode in at the end of September, maybe? I can't remember. We need a bonus episode at some point,
We
so
can, we
I'm
can
sure
do a
it'll
bonus
fit.
episode right after this recording. Like, let's
I haven't watched
let's
it yet,
watch
so
it together and cry.
let's watch it.
And I even was like telling my therapist about it. I'm like, have you seen A Nice Indian Boy? And she was like, no, but I've heard of it. And I was like, can you please watch it?
It's important for my journey,
Like, I
actually.
really need you to watch that movie. And I do think, honestly, it did stick out like as an important movie to me, just because like I'm someone who wants to be a parent. And I think that these type of movies and these type of representations are very important for people to see.
Yeah.
No situation is exactly the same, but I do think it's important for people to recognize like parenting is hard. Parenting is about supporting and loving your child, and that comes in many different forms. So yeah, it was just fantastic. Absolute great movie. And also, the romance in it and everything. It was very sweet. I really just I can't say enough good things about it, honestly. So
Oh,
good.
good.
The other movie I watched, though, Captain America: Brave New World.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
No.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Here's the thing. So I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I thought that was a pretty good show.
Yeah. It wasn't
I
like my favorite of all
No,
of
it
the new
wasn't my
Marvel
favorite.
joints, but like it wasn't bad by any means.
Exactly. I was like, okay, I see what they're doing here, and I can appreciate it. I thought it was pretty good. This movie is trying to build off of that, but then also incorporating one of the worst movies in all of the Marvel movies,
Oh
The
my
Incredible
gosh.
Hulk, into
Oh,
this.
yeah.
And I think that that is just,
You mean you didn't want to see Harrison Ford as a Hulk?
oh my gosh. And they incorporate, some of the villains from the Hulk verse in this
Oh,
and everything. Spoilers, whoops. Um, yeah, I thought this movie was really bad. And
okay.
I'm very disappointed because I feel like like after watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was like, okay, so there is potential
Hmm.
with this character. And I think they don't know what to do with him.
Yeah. Well, I don't
And
think they have
that's
enough
disappointing,
people. I just don't think they always have enough people in the writers' room who understand how to like write complex stories for superhero.
right?
Because like these books are very, or these like new Marvels, they're kind of watered down. They're not like if you think about it, the start of Tony Stark was like he sold like war things to people
Hmm.
and was like part of the war complex.
Hmm.
And now there's like a need to make sure that like superheroes don't have teeth anymore. Like it's
Don't
someone
have teeth.
well,
What?
like they pointed this out on Unspooled, Paul Shear again, sorry for all the name drops of Paul
Okay.
Shear. Where like with the new Marvel movies, they always have to be fighting aliens or like Hulks or something because they can't kill anyone on screen anymore. There's no like
Oh,
actual like you have to have an
there's no
alien
stakes.
there's no stakes anymore because everything kind of has to be a little bit like nice and cleaner and like that's not
That's very much the vibe of this because the way that it ended, I'm like, who even cares? Who even cares
right.
about this? Like this, I'm annoyed by this ending, like little wrap up speech. I'm
Mm-hmm.
annoyed by like, and this is sad because like I think Anthony Mackie is
Because
a
he
good
deserved his own
character.
movie.
He
Like,
deserved his own
yeah.
movie. He's a good actor, and I think he did a great job in previous Avengers and like Marvel films that he was in,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a great job in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. they did him a disservice with this
Yeah.
movie because even towards
Okay.
the end, I was like starting to get very annoyed watching him
Mm,
because I'm like, oh, okay, this is becoming like the worst type of Captain America where it's like, well, I'm a nice guy, so I'm gonna say this motivational thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna
okay.
throw up because I can't stand this. But it was just bad. Harrison Ford was
Okay.
bad.
Harrison Ford needs to retire. No offense
He's
to
too
that
old.
man, but he's so old. And why are we making all these old people work for millions of years? We we cast
I mean, old
teenagers
people
young.
need acting jobs too. Old people also need jobs, I suppose.
Not
But
really. They could be retired. People retire. Like
I mean,
there are
do and
actors who have
I
retired.
I do enjoy watching TV where like older populations are
I want the
present.
representation, but I don't always need it like with Harrison Ford. That man could have
No, we could have got
retired.
someone else to play that
Yeah,
part.
he could have retired. Like that man can
I'm
retire.
I guess
He's
I'm
fine.
more getting at like the actors that were in like the show that oh, what is it? On Netflix that I talked about that I absolutely loved and now I can't remember the name. Man on the Inside.
Oh, Man
Uh
on the Inside. That's
yeah, that
fine.
was excellent.
Yeah.
And I think
And I can't
those were
wait to
not like a
see
ton of big
Thursday
name.
Murder Club. But like
Yes.
those are very specific pointed ones. And they're also
And they're
like
not having Harrison Ford, who it's like, you're,
I'm like,
thank you for your service. Like,
did he
please
need to
step
be in a
aside.
Marvel joint? How many
No,
franchises is that man in? So many.
but he was bad in this. Like,
Yeah,
because,
because
and,
he doesn't care. Like he didn't care about those movies, and you can't convince me that he
but the thing
did.
is, like, I think they did not know what they were doing. Another reason I think they did not know what they were doing with this movie is they thought, you know how we'll bring people in? We'll put Giancarlo Esposito, Esposito in this, and we'll put Harrison Ford in this. That will draw people in. And I'm like, I think that that maybe was the only thing to draw people in. And then once they saw it, they were like, why waste these two people's time? Like
Yeah.
Giancarlo could have been doing so many other things because he's so talented.
He
Like,
probably wanted to do so many other things, and then he
oh,
was just doing this Marvel movie.
I'm even like seeing him. Like I have the Wikipedia page open and I'm seeing him at the bottom of the theatrical release poster, and I'm just like, ugh, I almost just want to like just destroy that theatrical release
Uh,
poster. It was so bad. And I mostly just feel bad for Anthony Mackie, but I think they've done this many
yeah.
times, honestly, where they've had a movie that I've been kind of excited about and they've just fumbled it massively
Yeah.
because they did the same thing with Black Widow. And you know what? I don't think Black Widow was horrible. I actually
No.
liked Black Widow, but
Yeah.
I think it could have been a much better movie. It could have been a lot
Yes.
better.
Well, it could have
And
been, it could have come out in the linear fashion in which it should have, which was
mhm,
before all the Avengers movies,
yes.
but for some reason they pushed it.
But here's the thing is now that they're fumbling some of these movies, people are going to use it as an excuse that minorities
Hmm.
shouldn't be cast in leading roles. And that's the thing that like sucks the most about this is they're going to
Yes.
say like, well, the reason that Black Widow did so poorly is because people don't want to see a movie with a woman as the star
A
without any like
woman? Yeah.
lead male actor, and they're going to make the same complaint about Captain America Brave New
Hmm.
World and say that the reason it was bad is because of Anthony Mackie. And it's like, no, it's not Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie is very talented.
Yeah.
They're just going to use this as unfortunately use this as an excuse to not cast minorities
Yeah.
as leading roles, and that's awful. And unfortunately, like this is something that like all the keyboard warriors are going to, go to
Hmm.
say like, oh, this was a bad movie because nobody wants to see a movie with a black man as the lead, or nobody wants to see a movie with,
Well,
and it's just a disservice because Anthony Mackie's very talented. This could have been a really great movie had they
hmm.
gone in a different direction, not incorporated the worst types of villains from the entire Marvel universe. Like, who even thought, let's incorporate the Incredible Hulk, which was a terrible movie.
Yeah. Well, and like I feel like the best place to see Marvel right now is the TV shows because they're
Yeah.
actually taking chances. But like the movies themselves have been a mess. Like I know Elizabeth Olsen was really frustrated with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Hmm.
And she like asked questions about like, Well, like, how does this stand with the entire TV series and her entire arc? And the director had never even seen the TV show, which is a
Oh
huge
my
important
goodness.
part of her character. And so it's just like I feel like the movies don't care about the TV shows anymore, and the TV shows are actually doing what we want to see, which is taking
Yeah.
chances, having representation, and having complex, like intense emotional arcs, and we're just
Well,
not seeing that in the
and I
movies
think the
anymore.
perfect proof of that is Agatha All Along,
Mm-hmm.
where people were very much like before it came out. And it's interesting because before it came out, I remember people sharing that meme where they were like, Marvel is dead, Marvel is back, Marvel is dead, Marvel is
Mm-hmm.
back. And specifically, they said Captain America Brave New World, Marvel is back. And then next it said Agatha All Along, Marvel is dead. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember that. And now I'm like, I'm disappointed because I wanted Captain America Brave New World to be good and
Yeah.
it just was not. But Agatha All Along, I'm very glad that that was so good and so well received
Mm-hmm.
because it was pretty diverse cast. They showed a lot of representation of the queer
Mm-hmm.
community, and it was a really complex storyline that dealt with grief and death and everything. It was great.
Yep.
And that's the type of stuff that I think we should be trying to do
Mm-hmm.
more of. And this was just a really bad movie where Harrison Ford was just very concerned about Liv Tyler coming to see him. And
I didn't realize. I know that you said it was like the Incredible Hulk universe, but yeah, Elizabeth Liv Tyler was in the
there's
original The
also a
Incredible Hulk.
moment too where because obviously Harrison Ford wasn't in the Incredible Hulk movie, it was a different
Yeah.
actor. And Anthony Mackie like makes a comment like, still not used to this new look. And Harrison Ford has to be like, yeah, I shaved the mustache. And I'm like, no, you're a new person. Like, quit it. Like, we
Okay.
get it. He was recast. But
Yeah.
then they had to work in Liv Tyler into the movie too. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just can't stand this movie. It's, and maybe it was just too much Incredible Hulk that I just hate that movie so much that it soured my opinion. Who knows? But it was so bad. So yeah, I'm bringing you two movies, listeners. One that I say, please watch every single day, A Nice Indian Boy. Watch it multiple times a day if you want. And the other, I'm saying, never watch.
Yeah.
Never watch it. So,
Okay.
Hannah, what have you been reading, watching, and or enjoying?
So for reading, I did a reread recently of Annihilation, because I'm trying to reread
Okay.
the Southern Reach trilogy before I get in. I guess it should be a quartet now because there's another installation. And I like to read the new installation, so I kind of want to reread them just because I haven't read them since like 2016, I want to say.
Hmm.
Um, but it's really nice to revisit like books that got me back into reading. Annihilation was so fundamentally important to me when I was reading books that I got back into them after law school. Um, and it just made me realize how much like horror has been something I'm fascinated by since I got back into reading because there are
Hmm.
so many horror elements in Annihilation that I think I just chalked up to being weird when I first read
Hmm.
it. And now I'm like, oh no, this is a horror element. Like there's body horror and there's all these different things going on. And I loved coming back to them after I had read them,
Sure.
in such a way where I was just kind of enjoying the books my first time out and being like, oh, I get to love reading again. And coming back and being like, no, now I've loved reading for 9 years again. And I've,
Hmm.
ramped up to having my own podcast. So it's very nice coming back to them. I love these books so much. They definitely held up for me in just very specific ways. It's so shocking when you reread them how much information is given that you
Hmm.
like forget about in such a short amount of time. Because there were so many parts where I'm like, oh, this is an end reveal, and I'm like, no, it's not. They kind of tell you about it very early on, and then there's more moments that come back to you later. And I'd forgotten so many pieces of it. But Jeff Vandermeer is such a good author. He has such good like sci-fi horror elements. So definitely recommend the Southern Reach trilogy if you haven't read it yet, or series. If you haven't read it yet, please read Jeff Vandermeer.
I
He's
only read the
not to
first
be
book,
slept on.
so.
Oh really? The second book is
Mhm.
so interesting. I love the like jump it makes. So yeah, you should definitely read them because there was a new installation out this year. So um
It's one of my fatal flaws starting a series and not finishing it. That's
almost
why
like we made
it's
a
a
podcast
podcast.
about it. And then I also finished the second book in the Iron Widow series by Jiren J.
Yes.
Zhao. Um, this was Heavenly Tyrant.
Which, just gonna say, the cover for that book. Oh,
It's so
love.
pretty. This book goes hard. I texted you about this.
Hmm.
This book delves into so many complex and dark themes. So the main character is someone who has lived a life. Zishan is someone who, in the last book, has suffered huge amounts of loss, and then in this book is immediately put into positions that she doesn't want to be in. There are so many moments where her body is treated as possessions of others,
Mm.
and so many choices are taken away from her. She has to put her own alliance with someone who she feels is not out like in her best interest, and then you get to see their relationship warp throughout this book. And there's so many complex themes that I think other books wouldn't have touched on. Um, such like as maybe sometimes having romantic feelings for an abuser and it's still not being okay that they abused
Hmm.
you. There are things like not accepting someone's apology if they've
Hmm.
harmed you. There's coming to terms with your own like darker insides and like complex discussions of if you want to be a mother or not, or if it's okay to want children, if you even if you want to be a feminist. Like it
Hmm.
goes into all these themes and they all go towards the dark in such a way that I pointed out to you, like YA novels sometimes do not hold back in
Hmm.
ways that I think, some people out there try to say, like, well, my teenager should not be reading about this. But I think that's always been a function of YA novels that they go hard
Hmm.
because teenagers have a hard time finding empathy in a way that like adults, like when I'm reading this
Yeah.
book, sometimes it made me uncomfortable and I'm like, I have to put this down or I can't listen right now. It's upsetting me. Um, but then I think back to like when I read The Hunger Games as a teenager and like children were dying on the book, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, I guess they're fighting. Like, and
Hmm.
then you come back as an adult and you're like crying over the death of someone. Or maybe I was just a little bit more of a sociopath than others when I was a child, but it did make me
I
think a
mean, I read The
lot.
Hunger Games when I was 19, and I feel like now when I reflect back on that time, I was not looking at them even at 19 through the lens of like, oh wow, there is so much terrible stuff happening. And
Hmm.
I just want to quick add in, I'm not surprised that Jiren goes hard on some of these themes because they are very much someone who I think is incredibly intelligent, but also very much willing to try and expose people to deep themes and
Yes.
to get people thinking.
Yes.
And
Very much
I've
so.
been following Jiren for a long time online.
Same.
They're brilliant.
Yes.
And I've read Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor, and that's a great book. It's a middle grade book, and I think even that touches on some deep themes for grade students. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that Jiren goes hard, but I do think we don't give enough credit to media in general for exposing audiences, not just books, but like TV and movies also for exposing audiences to like a lot of really difficult topics and
Yes.
things that they might not have been exposed to. Like, I'm not gonna
Hmm.
lie, I like it sounds stupid, but I learned about like a lot of things just reading or watching TV and was able to develop empathy for
Yes.
certain situations through fictional stories.
That's why people say fiction is so dangerous because it can actually teach empathy and teach like putting
And
yourself in someone else's shoes. So,
and I think you and I talked about this earlier in the year when I talked about The Vanishing Half with Britt Bennett, where we were saying it's kind of a yes and book where it
hmm,
might kind of bridge a gap and expose a certain audience to this historical thing that has happened, but it might not be the pinnacle of
yes.
the representation. But I think the same can be true of YA books, where it's a good bridge for people
Yes.
to learn about deep themes like you talking about, like it handling topics such as like abusers or like parental issues and things like
Yeah.
that. Like I think that's really important.
And I agree. And I think this book is really important and it is really interesting. And like one of the things I noticed most about it, and this is so weird, but I often forget what the main character's name is because so many people do not use her name and they
Hmm.
devalue her as a person. And like the fact that Jiren
That's
is
terrible.
able to kind of pull that focus in and say like, well, this is this person, or they name her in such a way where like you kind of forget the name as well. And there's a moment in the book where someone actually says her name and she has this moment of like, he never says my name. And I'm like, I don't think I recognized your name fully on the page. And part of that is
Yeah.
I do think Sharon does not pull away from using Chinese names
Hmm.
that white people are not used to
Sure.
reading. So
Sure.
I will say, like, fully egg on my face. There are moments where I struggle with the naming construction because I'm not used to it,
Hmm. Hmm.
but I prefer struggling to point out my own flaws and like my own ways where I need to grow as a reader, where I need to recognize names more and need to get into this. But I do think they use it in a very effective way when it comes to the main character.
Hmm.
So yeah. Um those are two books, and then for I guess I'll do one more, sorry.
Hmm.
Like
Sure.
we have time. We're going to talk about 16 chapters of nothing soon. So, I also read The Ghost of Gwendolyn Montgomery by Clarence A.
Okay.
Haynes.
Haven't heard of
This is
this
a
one.
pretty short book. It is like LGBTQ fiction horror novel kind of thing. I
Okay.
got this as an arc. I was really interested in this book when was first published this year. It's one that I don't think a lot of people have heard about. It was published in June. But it follows this woman named Gwendolyn who is like running this very high powered publishing agency, and then a lot of bad things start happening to her.
Hmm.
And during this time, we're also hearing the story of this other person whose name I can't remember at the time. I'm also just bad with names, guys. But he speaks with ghosts, and he's a medium who's running this small shop, and their paths intertwine in a specific way. And there are ghosts like trying to get through into a bridge in New York. There's so many different elements to this book. It's really quick.
Hmm.
But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of, you and I read a lot of books that we have to like talk about and like it has to mean a lot. And it was kind of fun to just read a book where I'm like, this is just kind of fun escapism. I don't think it's the
Sure.
best book I've ever read, but I don't think it's a bad book. Um, you know, Gwendolyn is a black woman who is trying to like set up her own community and her own company, and she has like a lot of different feelings on that. And there are certain ways where she is like expressing whiteness in her actions, and it does like play with all of that. But she is part of the Latinx community. Like it was an interesting book and it had a lot of representation, and I think it falls
Hmm.
back on like you and I've talked about this before where we're like, let black and brown authors have books that are just okay.
Sure.
Like, not all books, like we said with The Vanishing
Hmm.
Half, like they can be a first step. And this book was very much like fun, lighthearted, three-star book. And I'm glad that I get to read those more often
Yeah.
because I think people of color often don't get to be mediocre in a way. And I don't think
Yeah,
that this book is
and that's
bad,
so
but it is
unfortunate that
fine.
we
Yeah.
have these, and it also maybe now I'm feeling bad about like criticizing this Captain America: Brave New World movie, but
I mean, you
actually
can,
no, I stand by
Marvel
that
can
because
handle it.
Marvel can handle it, and
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie deserves so much better.
Yes.
But no, I think that that's so unfortunate too because I think you're right that people of color are often held back from publishing their books. And then when they are given opportunities in publishing, it seems like they're given higher expectations.
Yes.
And then if they don't meet those, they're not given any more opportunities. And that's so
Mhm.
unfortunate.
Yep, agreed. So I liked this book. I thought it was fine. It was enjoyable. It was an easy read. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of like big monsters in the sky, how to stop the monsters. 240 pages later, stuff happened. Like I was like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, this is a fun light book. So go out and read it if you're looking for a fun, quick, like fantasy horror-ish type
Okay.
novel. Um, it was a good time. I liked it. Has a beautiful cover. They have like a photo of like Gwendolyn on it with the New York cityscape, and it's like pink and orange. It's very lovely.
Cool.
So, and then for watching, I watched a little bit of Shetland season 5, one of my favorite BBC murder mysteries, where
Okay.
they're on Shetland. I've talked about this series
Are there
before.
ponies? Because I love
They
Shetland
don't do it,
ponies.
but there's a lot of ferry rides because they have to go to all the
Okay.
different islands. It's really weird because like I've always watched Shetland. I've talked about it before because I talked about like it was beautiful because there's like two dads who are co-parenting,
Hmm.
one birth parent and one, adopted father who raised um the child for the most part. But he in this one it's like season 5 revolves around human trafficking and it was published in 2019. But Shetland is such a show that I've like never watched it all the way through. So watching it in 2019, I'm like, this is weird. It's like modern now, but it's still Shetland. So they're
Hmm.
still like on an island with not the greatest cell reception,
Sure.
but I love that show. It's a good time. We watched it up at my husband's family cabin this weekend with his parents. They also very much it like BBC murder mysteries are so easy to put on because it's really hard to be like
Hmm.
not into them. They're like slow
Sure.
moving, they're a little cozy. So we watched that and that was fun. I did go see the new Superman movie, Laura.
Yes. How was that?
And Hannah, if you all don't know, Superman's my favorite superhero, which is the most basic, boring
Hmm.
answer you could ever have. But not many people's favorite is Superman, I feel like. Like, I don't think that happens very often. So I feel special because it's my favorite. And not just because I had a super big crush on
Henry
Tom,
Cavill.
what's it? No, it was Tom Welling from Smallville.
Oh,
Um,
yes, yes, yes. The
yes.
one whose mugshot went viral recently.
Oh, really? He was
Yeah.
arrested? Oh, what
I
was he
think he had like
arrested
a
for?
DUI or something.
Oh, okay. Well, it happens. You
Actually, I
shouldn't
need to
drink and
look now
drive.
because there's going to be somebody that's coming into the comments like, it wasn't a DUI, it was this. Keep talking,
Um,
Hannah.
so, he, um, that's so funny. I wonder why he was arrested. Yeah, arrested for DUI, it looks like. Um, I hope he gets the help he needs. But anyway, I like really loved that series. I always thought like Superman was amazing. He's such an interesting character because like he does want to be human so badly, but he has like all these powers, so he has like a very specific type of motivation. I really liked this movie. I thought it was a ton of
Hmm.
fun. I thought it had like the lightness that Superman kind of needs because I mean, it is a little funny that he's just a man who's an alien like
Takes off
sitting.
glasses and they're like,
Yeah.
what?
And they do address that in the like everyone always addresses it in different ways because like everyone always says that Christopher Reeves was the only one who could play both parts. Um, but they do in the movie say like, oh yeah, he has like he puts on glasses, but it has like a hypnotic gaze, so he looks different to you and you can't tell the difference. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure. Shake your hand at
Hmm.
that, wave your hand, fine. Um, this was a good movie because I feel like we didn't really have any origin stories. It's just like, yeah, he's been around for 3 years. He's been fighting it. I do think it's a little weird to say he's only been around for 3 years because he is like 32 in this movie. And I'm like, so where was Superman at age 27? Because I bet he was still being
Right.
super. Like it just we have this weird thing going in media where we don't let superheroes be young anymore. They all have to kind of be in their 30s for some reason.
It's
And
because
I,
everyone wants to like fantasize about a superhero and
yeah,
everyone's like kind of attracted to that 27 to 35 age, it seems like.
yeah, but it's just kind of weird to me because it's supposed to be like these young guns who are supposed to be like kind of angry. And not to say millennials can't be that because millennials are angry, but like it's just weird to me that we don't have like young superheroes anymore in any way, shape. Like it's like 30s. It's just like, yeah, I get it. But at the same time, you could make them younger and it would make sense because like Superman probably went to college and then he became Superman. It's fine if he's 25. Um, a la Harry Dresden. But like I really liked it. I thought it was really good. You know, there's definitely like it's interesting to me that people were like, there's a woke Superman because Superman like
How is it woke?
so there's the big bad has like it is
Lex
a
Luthor.
Well, it is Lex Luthor, but there's also a big bad who is in a foreign government who is trying to take over another country. And a lot of
Okay.
people are pointing out that there are heavy similarities to the war in Gaza right now,
Hmm.
and trying to say that this was taking shots at the Israeli um, ruler over there.
Hmm.
And so, and like that was Superman gets involved with it at the beginning, and there's like a huge
Hmm.
fight over the fact that like there are people who aren't being fed and all these different things. And so James Gunn
Hmm.
is like obviously pointing all those things out, but a huge part of Superman, because a lot of people were like, this is terrible. He's woke now. And it's like, well, Zack Snyder's version of Superman was very like militaristic, but like Superman's always kind of been a one-man show. He's an alien.
Hmm.
He fights crime by himself mostly. And like even going back to Tom Welling days of Smallville, there were episodes about illegal immigrants in there where like Superman was like, I'm an illegal immigrant. Like,
Sure.
Mom, you forged my adoption papers. Because like his mom was like, well, they didn't do it the right way, and he's like, well, I didn't do it the right way, and you love me. And like so I think that there's always been connotations of like Superman is someone who's very he loves humanity and he
Hmm.
feels very human-like because he wants humans to succeed. And even he talks about that in the movie. So I think people who
Yeah,
don't
I guess
see
I
that are
guess it
kind of
is
missing the point.
woke
Yeah.
to, like want people to be fed and do well and
Yeah. And
yeah,
like
how
not,
how dare we?
yeah.
Wow.
And the movie has like very funny moments where they talk about like in this modern time, there are certain superheroes who are fueled by like capitalistic notions where they are sponsored by these corporations
Hmm.
and fight if like corporation can look good. So there are
Hmm.
funny moments that are anti-capitalist in a certain way and, anti-war and
How
wanting to help
dare
people.
they?
Um,
Wow.
so yeah, it was just I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. It was a good time. Um, they have the dog, like the super dog in there,
Hmm.
Crypto. He was adorable. He was
He
a
looks cute.
showstopper. So, James Gunn knows how to have a good time. I think I wouldn't go into it
He
thinking
did the
like,
Guardians of the Galaxy movies, correct?
yes, and he did the Suicide Squad. And so you're like, I would say don't go into it thinking like James Gunn is going to redefine who he is. It's a pretty
Hmm.
straightforward superhero movie by a pretty straightforward superhero director. But I liked the Lois Lane character. I liked, kind of the discussions. I will say one weird joke because I always hate in movies where they're like, that really sexy girl, she's actually someone doesn't think she's actually sexy, and that's the joke. And I'm like, you can't tell me that when you look at that woman who's literally a Victoria's Secrets model that anyone can say like and I mean, I know this happens on the internet, but those people are lying where they're like, she's not that hot. I'm like, she is objectively one of the most beautiful women I've ever
It's one
seen.
of those
Let's
things where
not
people
make
on
that
the
joke.
internet, when they say that kind of thing, they're just like mad about something that the person said
Right.
or like one of their values or something. So then they're like, she's not that hot. But
Yes.
if that person were to present themselves as like a viable option, they would drop everything
It's like the
to
joke
be
that
with
people were
them.
like, well, if you see Margot Robbie without her makeup on, she's mid. And you're like, it's Margot
No,
Robbie.
no, no, no.
She is actually like what the models say that they should look like. And
She
so
was Barbie for a reason.
yeah, I always hate when like in movies they're like, oh yes, this one character doesn't get like that his ex-girlfriend is ridiculously hot. I'm like, no, she's ridiculously hot. So, um, that was my only note there. But yeah, so now that we have, riffed long enough, I think it might be time to discuss bum the Earth of Dresden.
Let's do it.
All right, heavy sigh. It could pick up. It could pick up.
I
So
I feel like we're backsliding.
I feel like we're backsliding. I feel like
Was
the
this one
blade
released in
might be
paperback?
coming. I feel like the blade might be coming down Laura and chopping
Oh,
off the head of the plot. Which is how we start, is someone's
yeah.
head gets chopped off. This 16-year-old boy who was filled to the brim with black magic,
A Korean boy, it's mentioned many times.
who probably didn't speak English.
Hmm.
Um, that he's beheaded. He was trying to do mind control, and there's just this Merlin who chops off the head, and of course Harry has to be the good old boy he is and vomit immediately
Yeah.
because he can't stand the gore. And he kind of talks about how he has this upsetting moment where he's pretty much yelling at them, being like, "Do better. You should be bothered by this." And they're all like, "Well, he was black magic. So if you know he's black magic and you know there was no saving him, then you kind of have to agree that this was okay."
Yeah.
And Harry talks about how he's now a warden and this is just really hard for him. And they kind of
Well, he's
compare
like
it.
super conflicted because I think he's almost like taking the job that they're doing like a little personally, where he's like,
Yes,
but I care about people. And they're like, well, we also do, but we have to, follow certain standards and we can't allow black magic to exist. And we're in the middle of a
we have
war
to make the hard decisions.
and we have to make hard decisions. And Harry is a little bit naive in a sense
Well,
where
and
he's
he's
like, I
also
want to do all the right things. And it's like, Harry, you don't ever do all the right
he died
things.
doing the
So
right thing, Laura. Um, well, and
no.
Harry has a moment where he's also comparing it to himself a little bit, where
Hmm.
he didn't do any of the dark magic things, but if they
Right.
hadn't given him the opportunity, he could have been this boy. So I think he
And it's not
sees
a
a different
fair
version of himself.
comparison.
It's not. The boy was literally using mind control to do a ton of
Hmm.
terrible things. So, like, I think it's unfortunate. And I do think we're probably moving towards Harry figuring out a way to heal the minds of those who did dark magic,
Hmm.
maybe. Because that feels like it could be a potential just based
Sure.
on the amount of conversations we're having about it. Um, we also find out that blood just comes off of Warden cloaks because they're magicked that way. So,
Yeah.
um, and they also point out that Harry did kill who could have been um Lucio in the previous book because a corpse taker had taken her over and they're like,
Hmm.
"You took that chance. We took this chance." Um, so then Harry walks out. We find out that it's summer in this world,
It's
which
July,
it's
similar
July.
to here.
Last month. It's August.
I mean, it's not that far into August. It's
But
the
he
same.
says he's wearing khaki
Midwest
shorts and
summers
a
are so hot.
it's so funny to say like he's wearing khaki shorts and a red tank top because like he's
Yeah.
always in a giant coat and hat on these
His
covers and I'm
duster.
like I would like to see Harry in khaki shorts and a tank top on
I
the front of
do
this
need to
cover.
know though, like what I need a more accurate description of like how tall
How long is his
w-
hair? That's
and
what I
how
always want to
large
know.
he is. Well, he's
Yeah.
always describing people like in relation to himself, and he often describes himself as being really big, but then he'll like talk about other people and be like, well, that guy is huge. He was way bigger than me. I'm like, okay, but how big are you? Because you describe yourself as pretty big. So I'm a
I
little
don't know.
confused.
Yeah. Well, but he's walking to his blue beetle. It's hot out. And then Ebenezer McCoy, licensed to kill, comes up and talks to
Stupidest name,
him.
Ebenezer McCoy.
And he's talking about, the war. It's not going well. Like,
And Harry is still like conflicted about this because he's like, this guy lied to me all this time. I'm like,
he had a license
Harry,
to kill and he could have killed me. And he's inviting me out to breakfast as an olive branch,
he
but I
has
don't know
no
if I'm going to do
morals.
that. Um, And then they kind of talk, it's kind of just like a lot of like, hey, here's what you missed on Glee.
Yeah, pretty
Because
much.
we find out that the Fellowship of Saint Giles are really pitching in, and those are the people who have been like half turned by vampires in the
Mhm.
Red Court, including his ex-girlfriend Susan,
Yeah, because
who
he has to reflect back. He's like, a person that I deeply cared about once had that
oh,
happen to them.
he looks off into the distance and says, "A woman I'd once cared for very much had been taken by a Red Court vampire. In point of fact, I kicked off the war when I went and took her back by the most violent means at my disposal." And it's like,
And
here's what
this
you
is
missed on
why I'm
Glee.
like, people should have had to suffer through the first six books.
And so they're training new wardens, they're training all these people, and it's just, they're all kind of scared. And then Ebenezer points out that the fairies, so the vampires in the last book had kind of attacked through the Fae. They'd walked through the Fae
Hmm.
and gotten to all these wizards. And Summer has declared war upon the Red Court, but there's like only preliminary assaults, and the White Court or the Winter Court hasn't responded. So
Yeah,
Queen
they haven't
Mab
answered
didn't
yet, which is odd.
suspicious. And they asked if Harry could look into it and figured out what's going on, because the embassy is being too polite, and Harry
Mhm.
plays by his own rules. And so Harry and Ebenezer says that like Harry's the only one who knows about this, except for like one other person, because he thinks there's a traitor with
There's also a funny moment where like Morgan appears with the Merlin and they're talking and McCoy and Dresden are like talking loudly like, yeah, we don't know about anything. I wish that the White Council would be nicer to me.
yeah.
That
But
made me laugh actually.
Ebenezer does think that the senior council has a traitor on it, and
Oh, for sure.
Harry is not. They're just sitting in there going, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much what they're doing. And there's also a moment because Ebenezer's like, "No one knows you're looking into this." I'm like, "Well, that's gonna bite Harry in the
Yeah.
butt real soon.
Because he's gonna
Don't do that to him."
it's one of those things where it's like, Harry, tell this secret to no one. And he's like, I must tell 5 people.
Well, and we also find out that Morgan called the beheading here as like a message to Harry, pretty
Hmm.
much that like you better not take one step out of line, Harry, or else I will chop off
Or
your
it's you.
head. And Harry points out that he's just like a cop on the edge, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then Ebenezer goes, I have a letter from you from the gatekeeper, who's a mysterious wizard we met like 5 million books ago.
Hmm.
He was taller than Harry, which is why Laura's like, how tall is Harry?
Yeah, that's why
Um,
I was questioning this because he mentions it a lot.
and so and I do love that Ebenezer was like, the gatekeeper gave me this message. I didn't open it and I have no idea what's going on with it. I'm like, I feel like you should have opened
You
it,
should
but
have just
okay.
opened it, but whatever.
Okay, but um
It has like a warning
the
inside.
gatekeeper has a warning that black magic is about in Chicago. Like no one else knows about it, but as the senior warden on staff, Harry has to go after it. And so again, Ebenezer's like, "You want to go to breakfast?" And Harry's like, "I haven't forgiven you yet with your license to kill."
You
But
are
I'm a
a
little bit
traitor.
sad about it. And then
You
Harry's
once
just
were my mentor.
um and then Harry's just driving around and Lucille pops up in his
Mhm.
car and she's like, "I could help you with that black magic." And Lucille is the dangerous fallen angel that
Mhm.
Harry touched her coin and she's been in his mind.
Yeah, they've
And
been like kind of sharing a connection.
she's constantly in a tiny toga, apparently, when she pops up, and Harry makes sure that she has to put her
She always
seatbelt
looks
on
sexy.
because he cares about women, um, even when they're evil fallen angels.
Oh
And so
gosh.
Harry's like, I don't want your help. Get out of my head. Go away. Um, and he's been fighting her the whole time. And he also says that this is a reason why he didn't get breakfast with Ebenezer McCoy. And it's like, no one seems to know what's going on, Harry. So I think
That
you're
doesn't
fine.
make sense, but whatever.
I do think it's interesting where Harry keeps being like, these people who could help me might judge me, so I cannot tell them. And you know what? Sometimes I too don't ask for help because I'm afraid people will judge me. So, like, I get it, but it is
Relatable.
frustrating.
But when you see it
Relatable,
in other people, it's
but
like,
you
come
kind of
on.
hope if it got to the point of fallen angel, you would report it to someone. Then again, I did not
You
tell
never
people I
know
was an
until you're put
alcoholic for a
into
long
someone
time.
else's
So
shoes.
it's weighing the options. So he keeps driving and he's immediately hit by this Chrysler. I do love that they tell us
Mhm.
it's a Chrysler multiple times because that's just a make. It's not a model. What kind of Chrysler was it?
Probably a
Like
van.
probably a van.
The
But he
family.
gets hit, the van, the Chrysler leaves right away and Harry makes a bunch of Dukes of Hazzard jokes because
Mhm.
those are relevant at this time, I guess.
I don't know that
Um
it's relevant. It's probably like I feel like all of the media mentions are like things that Jim Butcher was likely into when he was writing each book where like he mentions Star Wars a lot and I'm like he was going through a Star Wars phase. Like I get it. Like
but
he
like
mentions
Dukes of
Star Wars a
Hazzard is
lot.
such a specific pull because it wasn't like unless he was
I don't
talking
know.
about
I
the
know some people that
Jessica
like Dukes of
Simpson
Hazzard.
version.
No, I
Uh,
feel like there's a lot of people that like Dukes of Hazzard, the original.
I get yeah, but like I don't know. It's been a while since it was out. It's just like an old poll. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, a cop pulls up. They call Karen Murphy, who is now not an aunt. She's a little sister. Um,
And she's built like a gymnast.
and
And I'm like, I would like to, I don't know how we would do this, but like to compile like the progression, like the evolution of how Karen Murphy is described
Can someone
by
do that for us and
Harry
send it to
Dresden.
us? Um,
Fans, please make that. It would be its own unique book.
but Harry has to get checked out by the EMTs, but he can't go to the hospital because he can't disrupt the machines, even though Harry goes to the hospital all the time.
Mhm.
So why is this suddenly a fear of his? No one knows. But Murph ends up driving him home. In the car, Harry's just like, "Have you ever thought about us?" Or was it Karen who asked? I think
She
Karen asks,
asks,
and he, I don't
and it's like, Karen, you don't know how much he thinks about it.
Well, and they kind of just have a heart to heart where they get into his apartment about like all the bad things that they did, like
Hmm.
Harry killing humans at the Field Museum in the last book, and Karen killing that one FBI agent she killed. Like it's just like a do you remember all the people we murdered, but we
Hmm.
actually feel guilty about because they weren't monsters? And they discuss the relationship. Thomas is in the shower, and Harry
And Thomas comes out, and Karen's very much like, ooh.
He's so sexy. And we find out that Thomas is part of the White Court because, of course, he is. And he says he's the high priest of Bowflex, which is
Which is kind of funny.
that is funny. I laughed.
But I
Um,
also like think it's a little bit like I shouldn't laugh about this, but I think it's a little bit funny that Dresden like talks about how mentally unwell Thomas is and is almost like kind of saying like that's why we're brothers because we we have that genetic connection of being mentally unwell. Didn't it kind of feel like that's what
he,
he was saying?
it does feel like he's like our sadness is genetic, but he also
Yeah.
points out that like Thomas has like a beat to his step, and he's like, I hope he's not feeding on someone. And I'm like, and Karen's like, maybe you should ask him, and he goes, I can't do that. We're men, and I'm like,
Why?
men can ask questions. What's wrong? Just ask a question. It's not that hard. Um, and so Harry's like, I'm gonna wait for sundown, and then I'm gonna have to go out hunting. Um, and so then Harry's just figuring out his next move.
Hmm.
He calls the summer court night. And the summer court night, he's like he worships the ground I walk on, and the summer court
It
night
doesn't
just
seem
treats him
like it.
like a person. And then Harry's like, "Wow, he's really gone up in the world." And I'm like, "Well, it has been years, and you guys are peers now, so yeah,
Mm.
he treated you like a peer."
Right.
And so Harry is like, "Hey, can we like talk about some stuff that's going on?" And the guy's like, "No." And Harry's like, "Well, they can't use magic to listen in on phone conversations." And the guy's like, "Wiretaps exist, Dresden, and these people will use them." So they make a deal for Fix and him to go meet at McNally's pub because we needed a McNally
And also
name
because,
drop
like,
here.
if you meet there a million times, nobody will start to suspect that place is the meetup
And then
place.
Fix is obviously having sex with some woman, so he's like, I gotta go
Hmm.
by. And Harry's like, wow, he just didn't care about me at all. And then he just goes through like a list of people to show that Harry Dresden has friends.
Hmm.
He's like, I call Billy, he's married. And I was like, that's nice. Congrats to
Did we
Billy.
know that Billy got married, or is this the
No,
first mention? Okay.
no, because we're supposed to show that time has passed, and he and
Mm.
that girlfriend for the previous book, who's like, "Hey,
Hmm.
Harry's off his rocker. Let's not talk to him anymore." They're like, "Well, now they're
We're
married."
concerned about him.
It hasn't been that long. It's been like 9 months. I don't know.
Hmm.
And Waldo Butters. And then Harry's like, I don't know where anyone is, really. Like, I don't know where this black magic is, but maybe my little contraption downstairs will help me. And he talks about how he's put all of his money into building a recreation of the entire city of Chicago,
Yeah.
buildings and all, while walking around Chicago gathering paint chips to put in them to make it a magical play way to find people and do all of these things.
Which seems like that would take so much time.
Laura, Chicago's really big. Like if this were
I
New
understand.
York is an island. Chicago just kind of keeps expanding. So
Hmm.
that took dedication and honestly a lot of chipping off paint samples from townhouses, which seems
Yeah.
boring. Like
It's just like mind blowing that he was able to do all of it, honestly. Like,
yes.
even a fantasy novel, it's like, this doesn't seem possible.
But also he talks about the models where I'm like, those models have to be teeny tiny unless this is the
Hmm.
most giant board in existence. because like they'd have to be like this big. I'm
Yeah, we
showing a
need to know the
very tiny
scale.
thing. Yeah, we just need to know how big things are, Jim Butcher. That really is our biggest
Yeah,
problem with this novel.
I think this is a really big issue with this fantasy novel is that Jim Butcher is not giving us detailed scaling. Like we
So,
need to know.
well, and Harry does point out that callback that this is a Lex Luthor vibe to have this giant thing. Because Bob the Skull is like, well, why didn't you just tell Karen about this or tell people about this? And he's like,
Hmm.
because it's kind of creepy. And he's like,
Yeah.
you're right, it is kind of creepy. Um, but Harry talks to Bob about all these things. I do prefer Bob as kind of just a romance junkie
Yes,
novelist and him not
absolutely.
going out to peep on college girls. I
Creep
hope
on
that never
college girls
happens
in
again.
sororities. Yeah.
Because I don't mind him when he's just a little bit of a romance guy,
Yeah.
and looks at a Victoria's Secrets model magazine. That's fine. You know what? Do what you got to do, I guess. But
Hmm.
like, it's not as creepy as he
There's so
once
many
was.
people that like brag about how they read romance and smut on their Kindles because nobody can see the covers. Like, I'm cool with Bob being that type of person that's
Yes,
like
I'm
really into that.
totally chill with Bob being that person. I just didn't like him in sorority houses.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah. Agreed.
so Harry brings him some books and they go over what the gatekeeper has told him about black magic.
Hmm.
And Bob, apropos of nothing, is like, I think he sent it from the future.
Wonder what this one's about.
I wonder what this is about. And Harry's like, well, why wouldn't you just tell me? And he's like, because that creates a paradox. But if he tells you your car is stolen and then you move your car, it's not stolen. It creates a paradox. But if he sends you a hint that black magic is about and you should watch out, then it's not a paradox because you're just gonna look for black
Did
magic.
this come out like at the
And
same
I'm like,
time as the butterfly effect? Like,
I I also was like, that could still create a paradox, actually.
yes.
Like I understand he was trying to be careful, but it could in fact create a paradox. And then Harry's like, well, I want to try my model here. And Bob was like, Harry, it's too early in the book for that. You need to leave. And Harry's like, oh, you're right. We are only in chapter 6.
We're just in the mention section.
So, but Harry does decide to get
I mean,
ready to
we
do
did
this.
skip some things though because there was a client that we meet.
Did we
Uh,
meet a client? Oh yeah, a client calls. My bad. Sorry.
yeah, who is Molly Carpenter, which is
Oh
this
no, this
is
happens in the next section.
oh,
Sorry.
it happens in the next section. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
because
sorry.
well, Bob doesn't say you can't do that yet. It's too early in the book, but Harry does
I was
say
gonna say because I thought
he has
what
to go
part are
do
you in? You said chapter 6, and I'm like, have we gotten to all of that yet?
we haven't even gotten to all that because Harry has to
Okay.
do an entire ritual to get ready to potentially use his models.
Okay.
But as he gets out of the shower and he's about to use his athame for the ritual, he gets a call. And it is Molly Carpenter,
Molly
Michael
Carpenter,
Carpenter's daughter.
who
Um,
is basically Saint Michael, we think,
I mean, he's
the
Saint Michael until
archangel.
his wife needs some backup, and then he's kind of just like none of my
And then he's
business.
like, actually, no, I'm a
I'm
bad
better
dad.
things to do.
I'm a really bad dad.
He's such a bad dad. But he Harry is like, Molly says she needs to be bailed out of prison and she can't call her parents because she has one phone call. And Harry's like, that's
She's
not
like,
how that
I have
works.
one phone
And she's
call and I
like,
called you.
okay, but I do still need you to come get me because like I'll be locked up in here. I'm not going to
Mhm.
call my parents. And Harry's like, fine, I'll go help the lady out. And he takes down the place. And we also find out like Harry hasn't talked to Michael in 2 years, which is why we haven't heard about him.
And
And
you know
not
what? I was
because
fine with that.
I
I
don't,
was really fine with that.
not because Jim Butcher forgot about him, but because Harry just couldn't have him seeing Lachelle inside of his body.
I
Um,
really wish that he had forgotten about him. But there is like this weird that weird mention though of like I just felt so ashamed that, I'm working with the fallen angel and, he fights this type
the
of
fallen
thing.
angel, and he might
Like,
look at me differently, and
and we're
he
such
can't help
close
me
friends.
because why would I ask him to help me? Um, this is where Harry just has the most capable people in his
Yeah.
pocket, and he chooses not to utilize them.
Yeah.
So anyway, he picks up Molly. She's dressed so inappropriately, like tiny, tiny skirt. She has,
It's one of those things though where the way that it's the way that it's
it's
written was
sexualized.
it's extremely sexualized, but it's almost like she's described in like a a seventh heaven, like look down upon the way
Yes.
that this teenager is acting type
Yes.
way, where he's like, wow, she's really gone down a bad path because her blonde hair is now
Because she has Harley Quinn
blue
pink and blue hair. And he's
and
like,
she has
I haven't seen that since
piercings.
I haven't seen that kind of hair since Cotton Candy. I thought that was only on Cotton Candy.
See,
Um,
and that is annoying to me. But then when he starts to describe her over the top
Sexuality. Yeah.
sexuality, like I that's too much for me. And I'm like, okay, please stop. Like this is he mentions like I shouldn't even be thinking about her that way. And I'm like, no, you
You
shouldn't.
shouldn't.
Like
Um,
stop.
and Harry, Mouse growls at her first, and Harry's like,
Mhm.
that's weird. Mouse usually only growls at evil spirits. I wonder what's going on there. And she is like wearing this SplatterCon t-shirt, which will come
Mhm.
back. And we find out that she actually wanted him to bail out her boyfriend, who's an adult, and she is
Nelson.
17. I think he's like 19, but
Yeah.
still, it's just
Hmm.
based on the context of what we hear later, I don't like it.
Hmm.
Um, and so she she's like, you need to bail him out. My parents don't like him. And Harry also gets her, but she's like, but he's an orphan. So Harry gets her to agree, like, hey, I'm going to help you out here, but if I disagree with your argument at the end of it, we're going to find your parents. Um,
Well, and
because yeah,
I guess Nelson's been acting weird and everything too, so it's just everything's kind of suspicious.
yes. And he was arrested for aggravated assault.
Hmm.
And she's like, he didn't do it. That's not what happened. And he might be in danger. So Harry bails Nelson out, and Nelson immediately is like, I have to go.
Hmm.
I have to go pick someone up from the airport. I think you should have called someone from a payphone and had them do it for you because you did just witness an attempted murder, we find
Yeah.
out. And Nelson is too into going to pick up this random director. Call someone, Nelson. There are so many volunteers at that SplatterCon. You could have found someone else. I don't know why you decided you had to do it.
Because this isn't well thought out. That's why.
But anyway, Harry is like, if you don't tell me what happened, I'm gonna punch you, and then you're gonna get arrested again because I'm gonna say it was self-defense, and they're gonna believe me because I'm an adult, and you just got arrested.
Because your girlfriend has blue hair, so
And
they'll believe
so
me.
Nelson tells him that he was in the bathroom doing dot 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 something, which is really weird.
So that he's immediately like, drugs. It's drugs.
And I immediately was like, diarrhea? Like, what do you mean?
You know, that's a good point. Like the way that Harry immediately is like, this is a troubled youth. He's doing
I'm like,
drugs.
this is
And
just a 19-year-old boy in front of his girlfriend being like, I can't admit I poop.
there are some situations in the bathroom that you just do not want to reveal, such as like, I have the big D.
But also, can you imagine that that's what's going on? And then this poor
That would
man
be
has some
hilarious,
kind
actually.
of like supernatural being beating him to death in a terrible smelling bathroom.
Hmm.
Like, that's just, you know what? Peak comedy, 10 out of 10
Amazing.
Butcher.
Hmm.
Like, but anyway, so Nelson is at the bathroom with the big D and he hears scuffling, and all of a sudden there is a man named Mr. Pell there. He's unconscious and bleeding. It looks like he was hit in the head. And Nelson was the only one in the room. No one left, no one entered, no one could crawl through the vents. It's just an empty room.
Convenient.
Um, and Nelson really has to go pick up that director. So they all go together.
They
Harry's
all
like,
go to SplatterCon. The way that
they
Harry's like, I'm coming with.
they go to O'Hare first, and then they like take him to SplatterCon, and I'm like, this is the biggest bill of my life. How many hours did it take you to get to Michael's house? Because this is so many stops along the way. Um, and so they,
It wasn't enough, honestly, because by the time we get to Michael, I'm like, please,
well,
no, this.
sorry, small stop on the way. They only drop Nelson off at O'Hare, and then they say
Mhm.
he can get his own cab back, and then he takes her to Michael's house because he
Yeah.
said, I don't agree with what you did, and you said you'd come with me. And she's like, my word is my word, even with pink and blue hair. So
Even with these piercings.
And then they go to Michael and Charity's house.
And
And
they're still just bad parents. Oh my gosh.
God, this section really sucks.
I I really just
Well,
hated
because it starts with
them again.
the implication that this is like, so there's like a theory that if you have too many kids at some point, the oldest children are just taking care of the youngest children, and they are in fact the parents, and it establishes a very weird
Yeah.
relationship. That's all over the page here because you have
Yeah.
like Molly walking in and all the kids treating her like she's mommy coming back from the
Oh yeah, they're
war.
like thrilled.
And then she like is like talking to the next oldest sibling and she's like, "Why aren't they in bed yet? You need to get them into bed." And it's just it's very much all of
Hmm.
these children are taking care of each other. Well, Michael and Charity were apparently like taking a shower together and like with none of their children in bed. They were not parenting. They
They
both
are awful.
like because they both have wet hair and like Charity comes
Hmm.
out in a kimono, which
Why does
I'm
she? Yeah. Why was that a necessary add-in? I don't understand why it had to be a kimono.
well, because a kimono is not incredibly revealing, so it's fine that she was in one, but then she runs into her room and changes into a terry cloth robe, and it's like you're still naked under both of them. I don't
Why not
understand.
just put on clothes?
Yeah, like put on PJs, put on something to
Hmm.
be like, oh, I was just wearing a silk robe and then I saw
Hmm.
someone, so I put on pajamas. No, you put on something that you're still naked underneath. It's still weird, Charity. Like,
She went from like one thing to an extremely similar thing.
yeah, like I was so confused. I was like, wait, a terry cloth, like that does not make sense in my mind. Anyway, so Michael comes downstairs before Charity has her weird clothing changes. And he has wet hair and he's dressed with an overnight bag, which shows that he's about to head out on the road because
Mhm.
he's an absentee father. And he starts talking to Molly and he's like, I'm so glad you're home. My 17-year-old daughter who ran away from home.
It's almost
I
like this weird, like prodigal son type scene, honestly, is like how it's they're trying to play it. And I'm like, no, this is bad parenting at its finest.
But also, she's a truant. She's not going to classes. She's in
Hmm.
high school. She's a runaway. And they treat it like it's nothing. Like she's underage with
It's
her
her
boyfriend.
fault because she dyed her hair.
And
She is a
so
troubled youth with a short
Michael
skirt.
is like, "Well, I'm glad you're home. You know, you should talk to your mom. She really misses you and if you could just understand where she's coming from."
And she's absolutely reasonable.
And
Not.
they but then he has like no bearing on what Molly's actually doing. He doesn't talk about like his concern over her choices, his concern over her boyfriend, his
No.
concern over the fact that she got arrested for possession. He's kind of like, that's all up to your mother to deal with. I am an agent of the Lord, so I have better things to do.
I'm sorry, but I don't care about all of God's children. I don't think. Oh,
But then and then Molly like is walking off. She's so mad, and he's like, well, sorry, I'm so lost in this just because there's so many things that are happening. Because
yeah.
Charity comes in, she like screams at Molly, and Molly's like, "Well, I'm gonna leave again." And it's like, she's 17. You can keep your child in your home. Like, what are you all doing? Because they're
That's
kind
what
of
I
just
mean when
like,
I said earlier, like, oh yeah, Charity's totally being reasonable because she just comes in and is just like absolutely almost off the wall about this. And Dresden like says something at one point where he's having like a little monologue about like they're so much alike that Molly and Charity, they're just really similar. And I'm like, are
well,
they? Because
and
I'm
she's like,
not picking up on it.
she's calling Molly's like, or Charity's calling her daughter like a savage because she has dyed hair.
Mhm.
And Molly is like go-go gadget control freak. And it's like, what? Who speaks like this?
The
Um,
Inspector Gadget.
and Charity's like always so mad at Harry Dresden, where she's like, well, something terrible is about to happen. I'm like, what? Your husband's about to leave you without any support
No,
for
she's
a
like, oh
trip?
no, that's fine. But Harry
Yeah.
Dresden being here, it's bad news.
And like both Charity and Molly are screaming at each other. And Michael's like, I try not to involve myself. And it's like, I think you should. I
I
think as
think
a
you need to be
father,
involved
you should
more.
be involved. This is terrible. Um, and so Charity like goes off screaming at her daughter. There's no calm-headedness. And Michael's like, walk me out to my car, Harry. Molly was arrested for possession of cocaine at a party. And it's just like, you should be more concerned, Michael. Maybe ask the Lord if he could have someone else go on
The
this trip
way
for
that he
you.
says it though, like in the audiobook, I was like even rolling my eyes because he says it like
Oh, it wasn't cocaine, it
she's
was marijuana and ecstasy. Still.
yeah, she she got caught with E. She's a troubled youth. And Harry's like, oh man, that sucks. And he's like, can you stay with her because she really trusts you and you're a good example and you absolutely won't sexualize her. And I'm like, he is the worst person to leave with this young
Well, and
girl.
also there he's like, well, Molly knew she messed up. But then Charity tried to restrict who she was hanging out with, and it was like, was it the people she got the ecstasy and marijuana from? Because maybe we should have more discussions then. Like, she's 17. I'm sorry. But anyway, and so yeah, Harry's like, I guess I can help. And he's so relieved when Michael can't see that he has a fallen angel lady in his
Hmm.
face. So then they're like, I have, Molly's like, I have to go to the convention now. So you can come with me and you can help me look into all of these things. So Harry just goes to this horror movie convention, slasher convention, and
SplatterCon.
he has to sign up for it because he needs a name tag at one of these things.
And he does like
Um,
a Jim Halpert thing where I can't remember what the name is that he
an
writes on his
innocent
name. Yeah,
bystander.
an innocent bystander.
And so Harry like goes up, he talks to the security guard there. And the security guard is like a police officer for
Hmm.
reasons, I guess. And he says that Harry
Just to have a
can't,
connection to Karen Murphy.
Harry says like, he's like, you can't go in there. And Harry's like, can I look in there? And he's like, you got me.
Well, because he's like, we can't have any of this tampered with. And he's like, well, I won't tamper with any of it if I just stand in the doorway and look in.
But he was like, oh, the blood spatter was weird. It all feels hokey. Da, da, da. Da." And
Mhm.
then the
He's
cop is
like,
like,
there's a presence there.
I knew Nelson didn't do it. I just wanted to make him talk, and I didn't realize he had priors. And it's like, well, then you're a bad cop.
Yeah, that's incredibly inappropriate.
Yeah, if you know he's innocent, don't arrest him. That man had to be arraigned and post bond. What's wrong with
Hmm.
you? Um, and so Harry also used the sight to look in there, and everything you see with the sight sticks with you in your brain. And I'm like, yeah, that's called your brain. Like,
It's almost as if people are going around and
it's like
they're instantly forgetting things,
he
a
goes
la Finding Dory.
Memento. He just like he's like once you open your sight, you remember every bad thing. And I'm like, I think they call that trauma. Like you're just describing normal
It's just
mental.
your brain.
It's just your pain.
That's how the
Um,
brain works, is you remember things.
but Harry with his sight sees terrible, like demonic. It's called like di demonic
It's
diorama, which
so
is
funny when you
funny
put it that
without
way,
this.
though, but it's like, what a good point, because there's definitely a better way that that could have been written, where it's like, this is a horribly traumatic event that you like see flashes of all the time or something like that, not just like, I remember it.
Yes. That was the drawback to using the site. Site could show you a lot of things, but everything you saw with it was there to stay. And I'm like, yeah,
That's how
like
memory works.
I don't, okay, so it gives you an eidetic memory. I'm really sorry. Did it help you on tests? Like, what's going on? Um, and so Harry does see demonic forces, and he's like, this must be the dark magic that the gatekeeper was talking about. And then the lights go off, and there are screams, and they
Hmm.
go running to a theater where there's just,
There's like all these creatures.
well, it's kind of like there's this creature coming out with a giant like scythe going after
Hmm.
people, and it's a person. It's kind of like I called him Bobo Jason Voorhees because he kind of had like a
They
ski
call him
mask.
Reaper, right?
They call him Reaper, which is just like, hey, I can't use Jason Voorhees in this book, but it was definitely Jason Voorhees because he has a mask and
I
he
kind of
just
thought
has a
like
scythe.
every villain has to be Reaper or Jackal, it seems like. So
Yeah.
it had to be
Um,
one of those.
so Bobo Jason kills a bunch of people and harms this girl. Um, and they they try to fight him off, but he like runs into the movie screen and
Hmm.
disappears. So we've got movies, we've got fae, we've got vampires, we've got too many things,
We've
everyone.
got it all. We don't have
Um,
very many werewolves because
we
Billy's
don't
off living the
because
married
Billy's
life.
married. So he's off having children he too can neglect.
Oh no! Don't
Um,
be like Michael.
And so Harry helps this girl who's like, my collar blown. And then Molly's like, this is my friend. And the girl's like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, there's too many things happening. I
I
cannot.
I kind of thought that was a lot too because they're like, "How's the baby?" And I'm like, "What? Oh no!"
Well, and Rosie, her name is Rosie. She has to go with the EMT. Her boyfriend is one of the people who was like grievously
Mm,
injured. And later on, we
yeah.
find out he dies. Um, but then Sergeant Green comes in and he is no nonsense and he believes that Harry Dresden is involved because Harry Dresden bailed Nelson out and that means they're in cahoots even though Rollins, the other cop, knows Nelson didn't do it. So this is a moot point.
Even though
Um,
he put him in for no reason.
well, and also this is so stupid because Harry has a moment where like throughout the last 7 books, Harry's been like, people just don't believe in magic, and you got to be careful what you say, and you can't just be out there telling the truth about these things. And then Green's like, "What happened?" And Harry's like, "I hit him with magic." And you're like, "What?" And he was just like, "I'm too tired. I can't think of an excuse." So then Murphy shows up. They play some pissing games over this and the fact
Hmm.
that this was the Reaper who did it, and there's magic afoot. And then Harry asks what movie was playing at some point in these sections. He does ask like,
Hmm.
what movie was playing when Mr. Pell was uh killed or hurt? And they're like, oh, it was the movie of a guy with a hammer hands. And it's like, the movies have come to life, Laura. Are you excited?
Not really, but
Not really.
well, what is it they call him though? Because there's like they're like feeding off of like all of their like fears or something. I can't remember.
They kind of
Uh,
talk about that where there's like some type of feeding off of fear and making it
yeah,
real. Like they think that that's the magic that's going
that's
on,
like
but they're
how
not
they
really
become
sure.
alive, right?
But they're
Wasn't
not
that it?
sure. I don't think they go into like that's definitely what's happening. Isn't that just
Okay.
like a theory? I don't know. I could be wrong. Um, and so Murphy takes Dresden back to his house, and I'm like, it hasn't even been a full day. This woman has had to drive this man back to his house twice now.
Twice.
This is it. This day has been going on for far too long. Um, and so Harry and Murph, this is where they're like, we could have been together, but it would have been a mess.
Hmm.
So let's put our love story on the back burner so Laura can live to read another book. Um,
So I can suffer more.
but then Harry wakes up the next morning and he goes to take a shower, and Lachelle is there making him feel like it's hot, but it's not hot. It's actually very cold, but he wants to take the shower. I've
Well,
moved
and then
past
she
that
like
because
makes the water warm and
but it's a
he's
fake warm. It's all
yeah,
in his
and
head because
is
later
like,
his lips are
doesn't
blue.
that feel nice? He's like,
Um,
yes.
yes. And I think this is where Lachelle is talking about the fear and the mortality and things like
Okay.
that. So that's where this is happening. Um, and how she can help him with all of this to help, figure out everything. And so then Murphy's there to pick Harry up. She has to go to the hospital to ask questions, and Harry's like,
Hmm.
I think it might be too dangerous for me to go in there. And then he's like, but I have to, I'll keep it to a minute. And I'm like, what's happening? This has never been a storyline before. Um, but they talk to Molly and Rosie about what
Hmm.
happened. Um, and
Well, and there's a moment too where like she hasn't found out about her boyfriend yet, and
yeah,
Harry says something like she finds out and she's obviously upset, but then he's like, "I'm glad that I used I did a soul gaze on her before that happened, or something like that, because he's like, now I could never unsee the things that have happened to her. I'm like, oh my
Well, because you
goodness.
only get to do the soul caves once, and it's supposed to tell you everything about a person forever and ever and ever, Laura. Never forget that you only get one shot. Do not miss a chance to go.
Now she's changed forever.
Well, but also his soul gaze tells her, like him that she is an addict, and she
Hmm.
says she's like 3 weeks clean from heroin, which Murphy is like, that can't be true. She would be in withdrawal. And I can't decide, like, does that mean she's actively using or does that mean she's lying about how long she's
I
been
don't
clean? Because
know.
that's so
I guess
strange
I
and they
didn't even
don't,
make that connection.
well, like, I
I
couldn't
just took them
decide which
totally
way
at
they
their
were.
word.
Well, she's like, well, it's been 3 weeks. And Murphy's like, that's impossible. And I'm like, okay, so what are you saying then? Has she
Hmm.
been going at this longer or
Has she been
not?
using, or what's happening
Yeah.
here?
And like, wouldn't she be concerned for the baby even more? Then I was very
Hmm.
confused. So yes, she finds out that her boyfriend is dead. And Harry
And
says,
she's changed forever.
well, I have to go talk to more witnesses. And that's the end of this section.
Molly's there to comfort her.
I did not like this section. I would
This
like a new section, please.
this is terrible.
Like, I get it. It's Monster of the Week. I think if we didn't have Ebenezer McCoy, I think if this was just movie monsters,
That's what you want removed?
yes, a
You don't
little,
want all
but
the stuff with Michael removed?
Okay, I want Michael to be a better father.
I want
But
all the stuff with Michael removed, and Ebenezer McCoy can stay.
I think the overarching discussion of Harry Dresden has a blast from the past. He goes to this convention. There are monsters coming out of the screen. That's a fine story. Make Michael a better dad. Stop having him be an absentee father. Make Charity a little bit more reasonable and not just scream at everyone.
Yeah.
And stop sexualizing
Stop
Molly.
sexualizing this teenager.
And you've
That
got a
drives me
pretty
crazy.
good story there. Like, I think it
Hmm.
works for the Dresden files of it all. But then you add this, like, oh, there's dark magic. Oh, there's Ebenezer. Oh, there's Michael and his hating his children. Like, there's so many things
There's
going on.
Well, even just within like the Molly's friends situation, there's a lot going on
Yes.
because Molly's like helping out at these different like places and everything, trying to help out friends and everything. And then the friends have really complicated situations going on. Like one is pregnant and in the hospital and lost a boyfriend. And then like Nelson has a lot going on and everything. It's like, wow, there's just too much
There's
happening
too
here.
much. He needs to call back so much of this, and it would have been better. And this book is like 400 pages. It's not a short book
Mhm.
compared to a lot of the other ones. So I don't
I do
like
think I'm
it.
starting to get more annoyed though with the like whole I care about women shtick when
Mm.
it's a immediate turn to I'm going to stare at this young girl and sexualize her and then say, oh no, but I care about women. Like I don't know that you do. I
I don't think you do, Harry.
I
I
think
think you don't.
you're not being honest with yourself here, Harry Dresden.
So, yeah, I can't wait to see what's coming up with the rest of this.
I
It's
mean, I
not going
could
to be
wait.
good.
I could wait.
Um, yeah,
Is
I'm
there time for a
hoping.
bonus episode?
No, Laura,
Cover a nice Indian boy.
we have to get through this. I'm so sorry, but we do have to get through this. So
Okay.
we will continue on into the next section of chapters 17 through 32
Hmm.
next week. But in the
Hopefully it's better.
interim, make sure you guys are rating, reviewing, and subscribing, or telling a friend. That is always a
Mhm.
great way to get people involved.
Yeah,
Or
sharing helps a lot.
follow us on all the social media platforms in which we exist, mostly Blue Sky and Instagram, and peep on our new logo because Laura and I
Yay.
released a new logo on Monday with an update to ourpod.com. That's OWWRpod.com. All of our socials are also our pod.
Hmm. Also on
Laura,
TikTok too. You didn't mention.
yes. Oh, I apologize. We are active on TikTok. I am trying to post more and more on there. So please make sure you are following us there as well. We had Laura had a great idea for an updated podcast logo and we ran with it. So please go check the
Yeah,
final
Hannah
version
really
of it.
turned my very terrible Microsoft Word creation into something. It was
Laura
very
doesn't have the
impressive.
Canva. Laura doesn't have the Canva password, so it's not her fault. But we do have a brand new logo that we'll be using moving forward. We have made updates to the website, and we also had a release of what our season 8 will be. So we're
Ah,
covering this book and White Knight in the Dresden Files this year, and then we have another indie mission, and then in November we are going to investigate the Dublin Murder Squad.
the Dublin
The
Murder
Dublin
Squad
Murder
by
Squad
Tana
series by
French.
Tana French. We're going to Ireland, baby, and
I'm
we're very
excited.
excited about it. Laura has never read these before. I have read all 7 of them, so it is a chunker of a series,
Hmm.
but we will get through it, and it'll be kind of nice to go into murder mystery
It'll
mode.
be really cool to kind of dive into something that we don't usually cover. So
Yes,
I'm
so
excited
we
about
are
it.
very excited. Something new and different for us. We're
Hmm.
trying out some new things, and we hope you follow along for all of that. But, just check out the logo for now and join our Discord. We would love to have
Yeah.
people over there to chit chat with us.
Talk to
I
me
made sure,
about Marvel movies. Talk to Hannah about Superman.
oh my gosh, do it all. We would appreciate that. So, yeah, just reach out. Let us know if there's anything you'd like us to cover on some of our bonus episodes. And keep an eye out later this month for our TV Tuesday on K-pop Demon Hunters. So,
Yay.
and
So
we will
excited.
see you next week. Bye.
Bye.